today. Zebra turkey fish. I assume you were singing it along with me in your head. Anyway.
Probably since the video went up last night, in fact.
Oh, yeah. It's never left.
That did work surprisingly well. I was happy with how that turned out.
Mm-hmm. Just kind of doing it like we talked about it briefly, and then when we actually filmed it, it was like, how are we going to make this work? Come in at about this when you feel comfortable doing it. Okay. We talked for about a minute and worked all the details out. And we're like, let's try it. And then it didn't work the first time. We did it a second time, and it worked then.
Yay!
Yay!
Hey, everybody. Welcome to ChillPoint, show where we talk about the week's video game news and CheckPoint, the video game news show that goes up on YouTube on Thursdays. YouTube.com/loadingreadyrun if you haven't checked it out. And we give you a little more background info on the show, on CheckPoint, on the stories we talked about, and talk about some stories we didn't talk about. And actually should, in a sort of talking about stories we didn't talk about, in this week's episode of CheckPoint, in the outro, or in the after show part, Graham was talking about, how that we don't have time to talk about all the news stories, or we don't necessarily talk about news stories. And talked about the Apple Epic thing, which Heather and I actually did talk about on ChillPoint last week.
Because that's what we get to do.
Yeah. And and it's also because it was in that, because the info came out on the Friday, so it was this probably won't be interesting by the time the next checkpoint comes around.
Yeah, I mean it's still relevant.
Oh,
but it's not like this isn't the most interesting news that came out this week. We've all had about a week to digest it.
Kind of hoping that if there was there'd be more, maybe more as time. If something hits on the Friday, you're kind of hoping that by Wednesday more details have been teased out, or maybe a few more things have happened,
or
but
that
not really.
Some other company has done some more actual journalism on the topic, so you have more things to talk about.
Yeah. I do want to point out that you are going to want to watch that episode of CheckPoint, though, because I do not think the three of us will be redoing the going full Mulla Mulla.
No.
And if you really want to know about going full Mulla Mulla, you should watch that episode.
I mean, maybe you and Beej could do something. They're doing it over, doing it remotely is a tough one. But, anyway, if you saw the episode of CheckPoint, didn't see the ChillPoint, Heather and I's take was basically the same as Graham's, but it's it kind of, depending on what your initial impression of the two companies are, you could kind of go argue either way about who won the lawsuit. But
it's like talking about how E3 won and who won E3.
Who won E3?
It's not.
Except everyone loses.
It's funny because
not that different
have you seen E3? Everyone loses at E3.
It's funny because the initial takes. I mean, this is the what I want to talk is the meta of the initial takes on Apple or Epic v Apple is what it is, because they're the ones who brought them to court. So but then Apple did have a countersuit, so there's an Apple v Epic as well. But anyway, the meta was what I saw was largely, oh my God, Apple lost so hard. Epic totally won. Oh my God. Because there always has to be there's always a winner and a loser whenever there's any sort of campaign. And then I go to Gruber's website to Daring Fireball, and he's like, it's clear to me that Apple actually came out the best here and Epic totally fucking lost. And I was nuts, that's not clear to me either.
But it's even, I mean, the great thing about stories like this is it's not even that there's different news outlets have a different take on it. there's a different take on it depending on whether you read the headline or the story.
Yeah, there's that too.
Whereas like the headline part, will be the like, this person won, and then the story will be like, well, it depends on how you look at it, this thing. But
yeah,
anyway,
exactly.
Lots of stuff happened. We talked about it last week, and Graham talked about it. But if there's the only thing actually about that particular is theoretically, if one side or the other was not happy with the outcome, I don't think there's anything stopping them from there being more appeals and stuff.
Oh yeah, no, I think they are. I think they have,
and maybe they have. Although, if they haven't, that would be an indication that both sides are like, this is probably okay.
If in terms of the countersuit where Apple sues Epic and says, yo, you still owe us all this money, and that's what that's about. It's like, you were in breach of contract, you owe us this money. And Tim Sweeney is tweeting, I went ahead and paid that money. It's very clear that Tim's thing is like, I'm not interested in fighting that in court. Sure, have your 30% of the $12.7 million that we made in the intervening period, I believe is what it was. Like, we will pay you your 30%. Great. Get off our ass about that, because we're going to appeal the shit out of this other decision.
My favorite thing is I read a couple of tweets of a gaming journalist who has been like watching the stories and stuff, and they put up a summary of like, here's why Apple, as far as they could tell, why Apple was considered not a monopoly. And there were like 3 reasons.
Yeah.
And one of them was like, oh, well, other places do this kind of thing or something, and maybe that doesn't pan out later. But the third one was like, it sounds like the judge said they made an argument that was half-baked, and so you didn't argue hard enough, as kind of like one of the reasonings. And the I think their name was Rebecca Valentine, but I could be wrong about that. They were like, so it just kind of sounds to me like if somebody argued the case better when they come back,
it would have had a different.
Maybe they would have had a different appeal.
Which I know is odd, but in the same way, there are a lot
of how laws work.
Yeah, there's a lot of lawsuits that get dismissed because. So there was one recently, Backdoor. This has nothing to do with gaming, but there was the Backdoor is like it was an online place to put classified ads for adult services.
Backpage.
Backpage. That's no. I think maybe it was maybe it's Backpage. I thought Backdoor was what this thing was, but okay, let's. I believe maybe it's Backpage. Anyway. Because I remember there is one called Backpage, but what happened was it got a mistrial.
Backdoor ads on the Backpage.
Yeah, could be. But there was a mistrial declared because the judge said to the government who were bringing the suit in the first place, said, you guys were doing nothing but arguing about child sex trafficking, which is not anything to do with why you brought this suit in the first place. You were spending a lot of time focusing on this one argument that had 0 things to do with why you said they were breaking the law. So I'm declaring a mistrial, which means that they can be taken to court again for the same reasons. But I'm declaring a mistrial because you're just up here wasting my time talking about all this other shit that's immaterial.
Oh, you do not want to waste it.
Trying to, but it is trying to sort of do, shame them in sort of a public way, as opposed to actually like winning the lawsuit properly.
Yeah, just saying you fucked up. Your argument is incredibly weak, and I'm done listening to it.
And saying things that are not actually can't be backed up, but are sort of inflammatory.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I mean, in a lot of ways, when I look at the Epic versus Apple thing, I don't care who won, who lost, that they both lost, which is how you truly reach a compromise, or that's a joke, or what. What I care about is that Epic tried to rally a fan base to fight a business fight, and in that regard, I do not like them, and they should not. No.
Yeah, the surrounding stuff definitely soured me on. On sort of Epic side of it, certainly.
I don't even care that they were like, okay, we're gonna do this plan where we go in breach of contract, so this thing happens so that we can take them to court over it. That part I don't even care about. The part where they're like, oh, we're gonna make a hashtag and make a bunch of people call in and just yell free Fortnite into the phones and make them go, oh well, a whole bunch of people who know nothing about what's going on don't like it, so.
And
and I'm like, no.
I feel like that's the kind of shenanigans that judges are not super stoked about too.
Yeah. All right, and influencer merch. Right, let's not forget about that.
Anyway, let's talk about the stories that we are talking about. Now that we've spent a bunch of time talking about a story that we are not talking about.
Yeah.
Starting with, we got a pair of PlayStation-related stories. First one being, you can now install, with the newest update to the PlayStation OS operating, PlayStation 5 firmware. I guess it's not operating firmware. Allows you to install your own or upgrade the SSD in the PlayStation actually legally, I guess, or not legally.
Well,
without voiding your warranty.
Theoretically, without void. The act of replacing your SSD does not inherently void your warranty.
Yes.
Sony, and to be fair, like, I feel like they have to say this because otherwise I messed up my entire... I opened up my PS5, tried to install an SSD with a screwdriver and made large gouges on the inside because I don't know how to use a screwdriver and broke my entire thing. Please replace it.
Yeah.
So basically they said you could now replace your SSD. Here are all the specs of it. The problem with M.2, especially M.2 SSDs, is they vary wildly in their capabilities. There's not just the amount of space that they have on them, but their speed, their capabilities in terms of advanced features, caching, all this kind of stuff.
The connector type itself is even like you have an M key versus a B key, and that depends on where the notches are on the keys and stuff.
And so whereas with a hard drive you can pretty much stick it in and it'll might go faster or slower or whatever, but with the M.2 and with the way PlayStation is they've sort of optimized for the drive that they know is in there, they know the capabilities of the drive that's in there in terms of how fast they can pull stuff off, and so video games are theoretically one of the big selling points of the PS5 was that games can be made in such a way where they basically have no loading times. And that's dependent on the SSD delivering the data fast enough. So if you go, I don't want this little SSD, I'm going to buy this,
big honking terabyte.
Yeah, I can buy this 4 terabyte SSD off Alibaba, and you get it and stick it in, and it's just like the lowest, the cheapest SSD you could find.
Yeah.
Chances are it won't match those specs and won't be able to deliver the data fast enough. Also, if you, depending on where you bought it, it might actually be like a 15 megabyte SSD that just keeps deleting data. That is a thing that happens.
Is there really because my understanding is that you can hit like an external SSD on most consoles these days. Is there really an advantage to installing a larger SSD on the inside and rather than just
like bus
having
speeds,
a USB something?
So the bus speeds for an internal M.2 SSD are they will always be faster as long as they're saying this is a PCIe 4x4 thing, right? Like you're getting a PCI 4-lane. Okay, so that's already going to be
very fast. Yeah,
it's already going to be more reliably faster than trying to do anything with USB 3. And so there is a value in saying getting in there and shoving in a drive is probably going to be better for your experience than saying I'll hang a drive off the outside, do everything by USB 3, and because it just won't be as fast.
It'd be interesting if they could, if they were setting up some sort of system where, because usually, like for instance, if you have a desktop computer, often you'll have a fast SSD and then like a big slower drive for archival or for other stuff, and you could choose what goes on the SSD and what goes on the other drive. With a console, I don't know what I to be honest, I don't actually know what file, because usually there isn't a ton of like file management stuff that you can do in a console. So those kind of capabilities might be a little bit lacking in terms of like choosing. It's like I want this game to be on the fast thing as opposed to everything else. So
I have to hand it to Xbox for the idea that they're like, our storage expansion thing's essentially a slot. You're going to shove a thing in internally. And I'm like, I don't know what the connector type is like on that thing, or whether what you're doing is by taking the little piece off the back or whatever and shoving this thing in. Are you actually shoving in a specially packaged M2 SSD? Like, is that what you're actually putting in there, or is it something different? Because it sounds like the whole thing's supposed to be proprietary, and I'm like, well, I mean, if I was designing it, I probably would be like, there's a cage here, and when you pull the cage out, the cage is designed to fit a certain style of M2 SSD. So you open the cage up, you put your M2 SSD in, you screw it shut, and you shove it back in the hole, and then that way it's like everything is protected and plugs in the right spot and does what it's supposed to do. And I don't know what they've done themselves. It could be because I don't give a shit. I haven't gone to look, so it could be anything. But I think this is super cool that Sony's like, we're gonna let you guys do this, and we're gonna say technically it's okay,
and probably fine
until it's not.
Yeah.
Presumably,
I feel like you replace that SSD, and it overheats or something, and then they're like, well, you chose the wrong one, and this is your fault.
I feel like it's also like, even if your warranty is like in there, if you're still covered under warranty, I do feel like there's like any problems that you have with your PlayStation, there is going to be a lot of like, it's like, oh, so I stick this in, and I put the disc in, and the disc is making this like weird grinding noise and not loading, and they're like, did you replace your SSD? And you're like, yes. Oh, well, there's your problem there.
Yeah.
Because sometimes that can happen. You're like, really? It's not the drive that's spinning the thing? You think it's the SSD, the part that doesn't move, that's making the grinding noise?
You opened some screws in the thing and took the top off, and we have there's a thing that just sometimes when people put the top back on, they misalign the drive. It's like, that sounds like bullshit.
But it's like, even if they do replace it under warranty, there's going to be a bit of like trying to lay the blame on it.
Let's be fair. At least now they can try to blame you replacing the SSD and not ask you questions like, well, do you have a child in your home that may have tried to use this as a rock tumbler?
Yeah. Or really likes peanut butter and wanted to feed the PS5.
I mean, that could also, that would also mess up an SSD, though, to be fair. I mean, the other interesting thing about SSDs is because they're such a sort of low level device in the sense that they're connecting directly to the PCI bus, as opposed to say like a hard drive comes in, like all hard drives or all hard drives are the same size or one of two sizes. You have 3.5 inch and 2.5 inch. And regardless of how big the hard drive is, all hard drives are the same size, which obviously causes all sorts of weird problems because they have to fit more and more and more stuff inside the same size thing. But that's a standard, and the screws are always in the same place, and the things are always in the same stuff. And the weird thing about SSDs is they tend to be they'll like kind of figure out how to fit them into the motherboard. And as the info page on the website when Sony is talking about what kinds of SSDs, the requirements for the SSD, it's got this big thing about it's like, okay, it's got to have a it's got to have a heat sink on it. But if it's got like, it could have a built-in heat sink. It could have a separate heat sink. This is how you have to put it on if it's a separate heat sink. It could have a heat sink on both sides. So if there's a heat sink on both sides, you have to put it in like this. And so there's like this whole thing with just like, there's all these sort of different configurations now that can come out of it, which is kind of a pain in the butt.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, good on Sony. And then the other story is talking about Little Big Planet. And the suffering of Little Big Planet players. I don't know if there's anybody in chat who is a fan of Little Big Planet players. But apparently they've been having, over the last year, they've been having just like constant issues with servers going down and stuff disconnecting. Not only the actual like server capabilities of the game, but also like the lbp.me social website that is supposed for like sharing the stuff, and continually getting DDoS'd and getting hacked in various ways and stuff. And in fact, apparently there's like there's a theory that it's like one person or a very small group of people who just have a real beef with Little Big Planet somehow. I don't know why.
Well, we've covered stories like this before about certain multiplayer games
like
getting
Titanfall was the other one.
Getting hit, and generally it's like it's been a very angry person. But in this case, no one's actually come forward.
And that's the weird thing. Like, so IGN even did their own investigation because they were trying to figure out what the hell was going on. And it's like, because who knows if there's probably law enforcement officials looking into this too, because this is technically computer crime. This is, computer fraud, however they refer to it. But this is one of those things where like people are looking into it, trying to figure out what the hell's going on.
Some detective somewhere is like, okay, so can't use Sackboy. Okay.
Yes.
This is
this is my life now.
This is above my pay grade.
Oh yeah. But like we were talking about this, and it's like, so what could this actually be? Could this be just because it's like, could it be somebody who has to be somebody who has a beef against the service for some reason? Because you keep it up for a year, it's like, well, it's not just that I found an easy target. It's that I found a target that represents something to me that is important. And I'm like, is it somebody who is just a total Xbox and Nintendo fanboy who wants to do something to really like hit at something that's like indicatively Sony? Is this somebody who used to work for Media Molecule, who owned LBP before this, who was mad that Sumo Digital now is running LBP, and they're like, I put so many years of my life into Little Big Planet, and now I'm going to destroy it so no one else can have it. Like, there's all sorts of stupid reasons.
It's like Little Big Planet in particular, right? It's so like, you can imagine somebody having very, getting super angry at like, say a sports game or a first-person shooter or something, and be like, I hate this game. I hate all the people playing it. But it's like Little Big Planet. It's such like a wholesome, happy game.
Yeah.
And it's like you're making levels and sharing them with people. It's not really competitive.
Yeah. Is it somebody who was like making dicks in Little Big Planet and then got removed? Or like, never again will I let them stop me from making dicks in Little Big Planet.
I'm being censored.
Yes.
I mean, I know you're trying to come up with all the ridiculous reasons. It could really just be a person with so much time on their hands, and they've just kept going. Maybe they think it's that funny.
But it's just,
and be surprised what some people will do when they're bored.
Yeah.
But it's even not even like that pop. Like it's a game. Like it's a game that hasn't it came out for PS4 like a while ago. Like it's not even Little Big Planet 3 came out like a while ago.
Yeah. It's and if it's like, well, sometimes the aspect of having an easy target is like just enough for people to be like, I'm going to continue to use this as an easy target. And it sucks because it's one of those things where it makes sense that the perpetrator should never ever come forward and ever reveal anything about who they are or have any breadcrumbs that come back to themselves. You would never want to try to do that. if you don't want to get caught. But usually the people who are doing this kind of thing have an axe to grind, and there would be like a post on Usenet somewhere, or like on a frickin' like stupid website,
or 4chan, or like some sort of anonymous posting,
where it's like, yo, I'm doing this because I'm mad at X reason or mad at Y reason, or even just, yo, I'm doing this because it's funny, lol 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 lol.
You shall regret banning me this day.
Yeah.
So anyway, after about a year of the service going up and down, Sumo Digital has sort of admitted defeat on it, and they've so Little Big Planet. So they've the PS3 and the Vita versions have basically been the servers have been shut down, so they can no longer, and which I don't know what that actually, like, whether that means the game doesn't work at all or it just means you can't share levels anymore or whatever, but
I believe all of them are like the offline portions are the only thing you can enjoy now.
But the Little Big Planet 3 for PS4 does still work, and theoretically can run the levels built in Little Big Planet 1 and 2, although apparently the engine is not like exactly the same, so it's a little glitchy. That annoys people. So anyway, there it is. If you're Little Big Planet, so yeah, it's this is why we can't have nice things.
It does make me wonder if they're like if they were intending to do a version for PS5, or like how much they might want to do a version for PS5 if this is constantly a thing that they have to fight.
I feel like they've probably like Sumo Digital owning Little Big Planet right now, and there being an actual team of people working on it. It's like, I don't think that you take on an IP like that, because they weren't the original owners of it either, right? I don't think you end up inheriting an IP like that and be like, I'm not going to develop this IP anymore. It would be interesting if they decided to just be like, let's not do one for PS5 because we have to wait a little bit to see how everything cools down.
But it has to be affecting that team, right? Like,
absolutely.
If you're constantly having to deal with people hitting up the older games and trying to deal with that and making a new game, but now that's like a problem you're going to have to think about as a problem that could occur.
Presumably,
again,
you're at least going to reevaluate your netcode for the game. I mean,
yeah,
it's a tricky one.
I mean, because what I thought, what gave me a clue to what was going on is in the Ars Technica article where they say that Sumo Digital's netcode has already hurt a lot of user-generated levels because it renders them unplayable. And that made me stop for a second and think, if you were mad about the fact that Sumo Digital, if you were a fan of the series, and then a bunch of the stuff you created got ruined by the fact that Sumo Digital did whatever, then I could see you being like, I made so many cool levels and did so much cool shit, and then these people got this thing, and now they're ruining all of my work.
I don't think that's a clue at all. That is so highly, like,
if you want to have an axe to grind against somebody because of things like that, I can see people saying like that is why I would want to do something like that.
But like, we can, again, nobody's come forward. No one said why. You can make up a million reasons why, and I don't like the idea of like, oh well, this could be a clue, and therefore I'm like, yes, but so could this pen right here. Like, I mean, it's
you do end up with the
that's how we get conspiracy theories.
All right, well, let's go on to the Alan Wake remaster, which is I don't know when it's actually coming out, but it's fairly soon, I think.
Wasn't it like one of the October ones, or is this a next year one?
But which actually being produced by Remedy, which is great. The original, often remakes are done by like a different team or something, but nope, they are going to be doing it. It's now it is going to be it's coming out on the full, PS5, Xbox, not Switch at the moment, but it is also going to be a Epic Store exclusive, because they Remedy and Epic have been, and they have had a relationship before. In fact, I actually own the previous Alan Wake games because they were given away on the Epic Store like a few months ago. So, and you might too if you you might inadvertently own the Alan Wake games if you grab stuff off the Epic Store when they give away for free. Anyway, the original game had really obvious product placement in it for Verizon and for Lincoln, for Energizer. I think there were some other ones too, but those were the big ones. Which we were laughing about. I don't know if I don't think we did anything actually in the story or in the after show thing, but we were laughing about that. If you've played Alan Wake, phones and people phoning you and being creepy on the phone to you, like, giving you important information and stuff, or like phones mysteriously ringing, is an important part. That's a thing that happens often in Alan Wake, to sort of add to the whole sort of Twin Peaksy creepiness vibe to the whole thing, which makes like a cell phone company, it being sponsored by a cell phone company, even sillier, because it's always like a payphone or like a phone on a desk or something.
Yeah.
The fact that you can't you can't contact people is like a big plot aspect of it, that you don't have a cell phone.
Which is really funny because the fact that all the Verizon billboards are basically just like their brand recognition billboards. It's just like, hey, look, Verizon bought a giant billboard on an island where they don't have a lot of coverage apparently because Alan doesn't have a goddamn cell phone and nobody else seems to have one. And it says Verizon. It's like, it should say coming soon Verizon, like is what it should say.
Yeah, that'd be good. Or it's like, yeah, this whole game would be a lot easier if you had a cell phone, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
This is what, PS2 era originally?
I think it was, it was,
or like PS3.
PS3 360.
Okay.
Yeah. I played it on 360.
I
played it 360 originally, so that would have been PS3.
Yeah, they announced this during the Sony showcase, and I didn't realize until they showed it off how little I actually knew about Alan Wake until he has some sort of line about being a writer, and I was just like, he's a writer? Oh, it was some sort of zombie shooting thing.
Mm-hmm.
The flashlight is the weapon. Okay.
He could do
I did not pay attention.
Yeah.
I did not pay attention to this game when it came out.
It's a super neat game. If you have not played it, and if you don't care about the extra graphic stuff, you can get it either for free or super cheap these days. I highly recommend it. It's a fun game, and it has a neat kind of, because it's got this weird sort of kind of Twin Peaksy kind of bizarre, like what's real and what's part of this, like it's like some stuff that he's a mystery writer, so like stuff that's he's writing in the story starts to like come true or starts to like happen, but but the main you have a gun, but the gun doesn't do any good against these big sort of shadow monster, or people will be like taken over by this shadow stuff, and you have to like shine light on them to get rid of the shadow before you can actually like shoot them or do stuff.
And to shine light on them, you need a flashlight, and to power a flashlight, you need battery.
Duracell. Energizer,
not Duracell.
Well, funny thing is that when Graham originally wrote the story, and I wanted to hand him his ass over this. Not really hand him his ass. I just thought it was funny because he mentioned Duracell over and over in his write-up, and I asked him about that when I saw that he changed it to Energizer, and like, of course all the things say Energizer, and it's like, are we having one of these Mandela effect moments where it's like, did we misremember it based on some sort of glitch in the Matrix? And he's like, no, it's that everything was low res enough in the original Alan Wake that you just kind of didn't notice, and you don't think about it as being Energizer. And I'm like, well, that means the product placement sucked. Like if it didn't get across, or as Paul put it, the Duracell did back this and get Energizer batteries put in the game.
Because the batteries wear out. Right?
Yeah, because from a gameplay perspective, you want to you want them to be a consumable product. So yeah, batteries like a flashlight that craps out after 5 minutes is not a very good battery.
No.
Is this the game? I'm curious if anyone knows. Is this the game that sparked flashlights being a thing used in other horror games?
Oh no, I think Doom 3 was probably
did they just do it well?
No. They just did it. They just did it particularly well. Like the flashlight. It's not you barely ever need a flashlight to actually like see things. It's not like it takes place largely at nighttime, but it's not like a ridiculously dark game. The flashlight is actually like the way you attack stuff. But yeah, it's a neat game, and so I guess it'll be interesting to see what they replace it. Whether it's like, whatever Verizon.
I hope there are no brand batteries.
Or they're just like they're just like the like yellow.
Great value. Oh, no name. That'd be even better. Yeah. Just no name batteries.
President's choice batteries.
I don't know why, but I want them to like have a bunch of no name brand things.
Oh my god, yes, that would be so. Like
I think like they'd be into it.
They totally would. Like I mean, and they could probably do it for way cheaper than Energizer or Duracell. That should be something that Christ. Now I want to just write to Remedy and say, please go do this.
Presumably, Energizer paid Remedy for Remedy didn't have to pay Energizer to use.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah.
But now that I think about it, this is a prime opportunity for DLC to buy battery skins.
Oh goodness!
But you change whatever batteries you want.
Or the idea, or just like batteries that they're just like yellow and they say battery on the side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like I kind of nobody in their life has one battery in their house, let alone an entire community. Is there only one battery in an entire community? The batteries, the batteries should
be like
one brand. Yeah,
it should just be randomized. That you just come across, you're like, oh, I found 3 Energizers, an Energizer Lithium, some sort of weird Duracell from about 30 years ago. And it's like, I don't know if these have any power in them.
I need to have like 4 batteries in my flashlight, but I can only find 3. And I did find this rolled up piece of aluminum foil that I'm just going to stick in there to be good enough.
It's like, but if you it could be like a whole thing. Like if you match the brands of the batteries, you get like some extra power.
Juice.
Yeah, you get like some extra power in your thing.
I think it'd be super funny to just be like,
or if you're like, oh no, my battery, there's a big monster is attacking and my flashlight's dead. Wait, pull out the thing, do the thing where you like pull out the batteries and then just change the order of them and put them back in.
And it works again? Exactly, right?
It works again.
Like, Christ, if they have time, if like during the remaster, if you have time, work on those elements that make it actually even more realistic. That it's like, I took the batteries out and I shook them a bit and then I put them back in and I don't know why that worked, but it worked.
I have several questions. Alan Wake, franchise? There's several?
There's 2 games.
There's 2 games?
Deadly Premonition was the second one?
No.
Deadly Premonition is a completely different series.
I don't have any fucking clue.
The second one was called Alan Wake's American Nightmare.
Okay, so question then, because I'm assuming it runs based on the same principle of flashlights and batteries and things. Does he not just keep a bandolier of batteries on him at all times, or like one of those shaky flashlights, or like a spinning flashlight?
After the first time, light becomes such a big deal. Yeah, you think he would be like,
because I would. I wouldn't. I'd be in the bright daylight in the middle of the day, and I would still have like several bandoliers and batteries on me at all times. One of those
like LED vests, just that all the time.
His pants pockets would be full, and his pants would just be hanging around like the middle of his thighs because it'd be so heavy, full of batteries. He's like every pocket is just stuffed full of batteries. Just
a car battery strapped to his back.
Yeah. And when people are like, hey, what's with all the batteries? I'm just like, I like to be prepared.
Like, I mean, if that's the thing, they make those 6-volt lantern batteries, right? That are
right.
big ass things. So you do that. You make your super shotgun of flashlights. You have a 6-volt lantern that you can get. You can get like the crank driven ones, and that's like your minigun. That's like your Gatling gun of because it would flash, all the time.
The there's like one of the big plot things in Alan Wake is that there's like this room where there's this really scary thing, like dark evil thing, and the room is just entirely filled with light bulbs that are like on all the time, and there's somebody whose job it is to go through and make sure, like, replace all the light bulbs all the time, make sure that they're always the room is always as bright as possible to contain the evil darkness inside this thing.
Yeah. See, this is why I particularly like it when I learn about a new thing in a video game, because I've learned a neat thing, but I've not learned everything yet, so I can make up so much shit, and it's great.
Oh, sure, yeah.
It's like, those are great ideas. They didn't do that. Like, Alan Wake is kind of a weenie as a guy. Like, he's an author. Like, he's not like an action hero. He's just being forced into it, right? So he's not like getting all suited up.
Oh, sure. I just assumed he was like buddies with the Resident Evil dude, Chris. What's his name?
Redfield
or something. And therefore guns were more of a thing.
I mean, the fact that he does carry a gun, I'm like, that's very America right there. It's kind of like, I'm a writer. Also, I have this weapon. It's like, why? Do you write with your gun? Is that how this works? No, I live in America, so I need a gun. I'm issued one at birth.
He picks it up in the course of the thing.
Oh, does he?
He doesn't just have it on him.
Okay. I thought he just showed up and he like sits down and he like racks his pistol and puts it on the counter. He's like, that's damn good pie. And it's like, that's a bit of a, you're kind of absorbing a different show at that point. Maybe you don't want to talk about the coffee either. Like,
anyway, the last story we talked about in the CheckPoint was about
how I'm in the pocket of Big Donkey Kong.
Yeah. Still waiting for that AO3 well, I say
Please,
waiting.
not waiting on anything.
Yeah.
No.
Oh no, I'm not.
We discussed this and it was like, wait, does Samus have pockets? Because I wouldn't mind being carried around by her all day. That would be a lot of fun.
Yeah, Beach asked me several different names that he should be in the big pocket of.
That was not, we discussed Samus having pockets. It was not in the context of carrying you around all day.
No, exactly.
But that's what he was thinking.
She needs like a backpack or like an adult men's like baby Bjorn or whatever kind of thing, so that I can kind of just ride on her back.
So you want her to be like Luke and you're Yoda is what you want.
Kind of, yeah. I think that would be really cool. Also, though, the problem being is that when she jumps, it'd be like, jumping is fine, but if she does a screw attack, she'll just shred my body into ground beef.
I feel like,
look,
yeah.
She's not going to have pockets. At best, she's not even going to have tiny pockets. At best, she's going to have those fake sewed-on pockets that make you think there are pockets, but they're not there.
The way I see it is like when she's actually in the armor, like in the suit, she's probably got all sorts of compartments. You could probably fit all sorts of stuff, even just like in the shoulder pads.
Right? There's tons of space.
You want to get shot out of her space gun?
Yeah, Zero Suit Samus, probably not a lot of room for pockets.
No, not a single pocket on that.
No, that would disturb the line of the outfit.
But now I like the idea that on her outfit, it's like there are all these little compartments and shit, and when she opens them up, they're basically just like about a couple millimeters thick, because it's just like, it's not a real pocket. It's just you pop the thing open. Yeah. It's just a fake pocket.
Mm-hmm. You just like
just for the look of it.
Of course, with Samus, it would be like open the pocket, and it's like, oh god, I've got like 50 missiles in here.
Yeah, but like historically, that's why women had handbags and like the little ball purses and stuff for because they had the big dresses that didn't have pockets. And stuff.
Mm-hmm. They had to carry their pockets,
which means that she probably carries around a really cool purse that looks like her little balled up
morph ball purse.
Oh, that's cute.
Yeah.
I just thought you were gonna say it looks like a Metroid, but
quickly, Etsy, make that a thing.
Yeah,
it's probably already a thing.
Little morph ball purse, that'd be fun. What was the story actually about?
Yeah, the story was actually about the new update to the Switch, which gives
it a snooze button.
Bluetooth audio.
The other thing.
and enables Bluetooth audio, which previously it can't do. It's one of these things where it's like whenever systems get updates like this that like add new capabilities, it's always like, wait, what?
Then always
it could do that. It could, and it's like yeah, it's not like they could do an update that add Bluetooth to it. Like the Bluetooth chip was there,
and inevitably the next thing out of somebody's mouth is like, "You mean we could have had it all this time?" Question mark? Question mark? Question mark?
I believe the way James wrote it in one of our friend areas online spaces was. Wait, they could have just turned it on this whole time?
It's like, well, yeah, it had Bluetooth. All they need to do is upload the Bluetooth audio profiles and say, yes, we're going to enable that.
Yeah. But it turns out there was a reason why they didn't enable it. So I'm curious. It's sort of interesting as to like what changed, right?
Yeah.
Because apparently like it doesn't work great. It's got a fairly large amount of latency.
I have a theory.
Oh, no. Okay.
Got a theory.
And actually, my theory makes sense. So if anyone wants to get their shit in...
think you're so great. A theory that makes sense.
I say a lot of stuff in this program that makes no sense whatsoever, but occasionally I have a theory that makes sense. That what happened is during initial development, and even probably within the first year of the Switch being released, it was something they were trying to get going, because you have Bluetooth, and it's like we could be doing Bluetooth audio. But I bet you that for whatever reason, however the OS worked, it was so much more laggy than it is even right now. And I imagine it was a constant case of, what do we work on right now to try to get this to work? And it might be one of those like side of the desk projects that someone was like, okay, well, I will try to continue to see if I can get Bluetooth audio to work, and work on that kind of idea. And they got to a point where it's like, I was testing it against the recent release of whatever OS is coming out, and we're down to like less than 50% or 50 millisecond latency. Flying Dutchman's even saying that theirs is less than 50 millisecond latency. And it's like, we're down to that point, which is technically good enough to be audio that won't cause people to lose their goddamn minds. So we could turn this on now. We could put this in the new system update, and it would be something that we could actually turn on. At which point they're like, oh, okay, new feature, might as well throw that in. I think that's probably what would have done that. Is like, it didn't work at launch because it would have been incredibly laggy, but through constant system updates and constant development, they're like, we got to a point where we can actually do it.
The people I've been watching on Reddit, so take that with a grain of salt, have said that it uses the SBC Bluetooth codec as the only codec it uses.
Okay.
Which I didn't even know there were other codecs, because it's not like I look up how Bluetooth actually works, and that's part of the reason it's not one of the better codecs you could be using for Bluetooth.
Yeah.
Bluetooth audio sucks.
Yeah.
It's very weird and complicated. I mean, Bluetooth as a protocol itself is kind of weird and messed up, but Bluetooth audio in particular is kind of a weird system. But
yeah. I tried it with my headphones, which is these headphones, except they're, as you'll notice, it's down here because it's charging.
Okay.
Are not the wireless version.
They're not the QC2s.
I use an adapter to make them.
It's a good adapter too,
which works really well for my podcast listening needs. But yeah, it was fine.
And you can make phone calls with that thing as well, so it's like it functions as a proper headset.
And it was fine. It was not great the moment I tried it on a rhythm game, and it was slightly off. And I do think that if you've anything that requires audio timing in the examples that were provided, like the Animal Crossing fishing or fishing in Hades as well.
If you rely
probably
upon
fishing in general,
probably,
I guess.
Yeah, any of the fishing games really, except for maybe Stardew Valleys, because that's less auditory. It's not going to be good enough for that.
I wonder, the other thing that is,
but it was fine.
Can often happen with Bluetooth is they may have, and maybe they were able to resolve this, but one of the issues that you can have with Bluetooth audio is that it has to be encoded more so than just audio going out through your HDMI port or whatever. And so you can have the issue where if the if the device is being like if the game is using up all the CPU, all the resources on the thing, then it's going to start slipping the audio, or your audio is going to start glitching out or whatever, which is obviously not good either. And so maybe they either figured out or, decided that they can sort of reserve some processor power for that, or they decided they don't care or whatever. Mm-hmm.
But there is a net benefit to this, is that you can chalk it up to being an accessibility issue, because Bluetooth hearing aids exist. And in fact, I think I heard from somewhere that someone who did have a Bluetooth hearing aid was like, this is actually really nice, because I used to have to like, you have your hearing aids, but then I have to like, if I'm going to put on headphones so I can actually hear what's going on, and you have to do all this jiggery pokery. And it's like, now I can just pair this to my hearing aid, and yes, it's off a bit, but that's way more, that's way easier to deal with than having to go through all the other stuff that I was doing beforehand.
That was a Reddit post I showed you.
Thank you.
Of a person being very excited, because very rarely do I find the excited people on Reddit. I generally find the angry people on Reddit. But I found this one very excited Reddit user who was very happy that they would be able to pair their Bluetooth hearing device to the Switch.
I mean, for what it's worth, there's also, in fact, I have one right here, tons of like Bluetooth transmitter adapter things, right? Which I've always worked with the Switch or with anything. But it's like another thing to plug in and stuff, so it's kind of a pain in the butt.
And you have to keep it charged yourself.
This was the biggest thing on that update, which is why people were talking about it. But it was not like this was the only thing on this update.
Oh, so if we want to talk about what was on the 13.0.0 update, what else was there?
Well, I'm looking at a list. They changed how the control sticks get calibrated.
Lots of probably like stability and performance improvements.
Actually, I didn't read that on the list at all.
Yeah,
but,
this is like a new feature update. It's
weird.
There's
a dock update thing. As long as you have a dock with a LAN port, which is going to be the OLED dock. The maintains your internet connection in sleep mode. Is probably quite good.
Which means your console can be asleep, and then it can also start downloading games for you.
Mm-hmm. You can also, if you go and look at your wireless
games in your sleep.
Yes. You can also go look at your wireless internet connection thing, which is a thing you could always do. You could see what thing you were connected to, but now it will tell you if you're using a 2.4 gigahertz or a 5 gigahertz frequency.
Which with a lot of routers. Consumer routers these days have it set up where when you give it an SSID, or when you just get the one from your provider, you get a single SSID, and there's two networks that are available under one SSID, and you have no idea if you're using the 5 gigahertz one or the 2.4 one. And the 5 gigahertz one is great if you live in an apartment that doesn't have like a lot of walls and stuff, because it can cover just inside your apartment quite well, and is faster and tends to be more reliable. There's less crosstalk.
Yeah, mine actually sets up two different networks, but
yeah, and I have my router that I set up two different names on two different bands, but not everybody's does that apparently. Some people are just like, oh, it's the same thing. Like the one that we have at work, Paul, we can't set it up so it's 5 or 2.4. It's like, no, you just set up the name of it, and it's like, that's what you're using now. It's like, Christ, I hope it's using the 5 gigahertz.
There's like a negotiation process that happens between the two devices, I think. But
yeah.
Mm-hmm. Also, if you haven't updated your controllers in a while, you update those separately from how you update the Switch, so you might want to update those.
Weird to think your controllers get firmware
updates. Those never get patch notes. Like, I'm never really sure what's actually being updated.
Stability.
And that doesn't seem to be just like a Nintendo thing either, because I know Sony controllers for the PS5 got an update at some point.
Yep.
But nobody ever, at least you always get a thing that's like, oh, we made stability improvements, please update the thing, right? But even for the controllers, it's just like, hey, this happened, you should probably update them.
Yeah. I want the patch notes for the controllers be like, no longer takes over control and starts playing by itself in certain circumstances.
Yeah, that's good.
I believe you had a question in this story.
Yeah. So I said, why aren't you all complaining that the Switch doesn't have a snooze button? And then I looked over at the thing that Paul put up, and I'm like, what do you mean it might have a snooze button? What? Why might it have a snooze button, Heather?
Well, it doesn't, but it might.
We fooled you.
So in 2019, there was an update that the Switch put out that added the ability for
games to issue notifications.
Games to use an alarm notification system with the Switch, and what that did was it actually turned on
the right Joy-Con's LED.
There's an LED on the home button that was never used before or being used.
There's a ring around the home button.
And then it could light up. And the only game that I could find actually still does actually use this is Ring Fit. It's you set up an alarm, and then there's a place within your Switch where you can, I think, adjust or cancel the alarm. But all it does is it makes the ring light up to let you know that, hey, you wanted a notification right now. Thing today.
And in this case, the Ring Fit notification would be, you probably wanted to work out at this point. You needed a reminder to come do that.
Oh, Fitness Boxing also uses it? Yeah. At the time, the articles I kept finding were like, oh, Ring Fit uses it. Maybe they'll let us use it for Animal Crossing. Like, I don't think they do.
So what was there's a picture that you linked to, and you wanted me to put in as the shoulder graphic.
Yep. And it's all in French.
That's in French.
Yep.
What was that?
So that's a system.
I feel like Switch. I've been inadvertently part of some sort of fraud here.
You have.
Kind of. It's not a snooze button.
Yeah.
It is the screen you can go into in your Switch menu that shows you what notifications are active with what games, and the person's screen was showing off their Ring Fit
only
alarms.
The Ring Fit ones that it was showing.
Oh, I see.
And saying here's all the time periods in which you could have this thing kick in, and then the two buttons are essentially you can suppress all the alarms if you
want.
Paul,
I went looking to find out if there was a snooze button, because I was like, I know there's an alarm function of some sort, but I don't know how it works for this story for him. Then I tried to find a way to make an alarm with a snooze thing happen on my Switch for an appropriate thumbnail, which I could not quite do. The only thing I could replicate was the thumbnail that he basically had, only it was in English, and Beach said it was funnier in French.
Yeah.
And I also made sure he had appropriate rhythm game related screenshots. Those are mine.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, I did a lot of extra work for this episode beforehand.
Yep.
Yeah. Sourcing our own screenshots.
And I get to stumble on the word Norwegian.
And then speaking of stumbling, that's something that might happen if the ground is wet, because in Cyberpunk 2077, rain is now making the ground look wet more.
It looks so good. It's the kind of weather I hate driving in.
Yeah. I mean, there isn't more rain. The rain is just more visible, or has more of an effect on the world, I guess.
Yeah. So as it is raining, it's like the streets have that very glassy, slick quality to them. That's still kind of like there's a bit of texture, but you can tell that it's like, no, this is, and all the lighting is very reflective, and just it looks like if you drive a vehicle of any sort, this is the kind of shit where you'd be like, I hate driving this wet. This is the worst weather to drive in, because you cannot see the lines. Everything's too reflective. There's halos around everything. If you're on a motorcycle, you're like, I'm not going out today in this shit. Whereas in the previous one, you would have been fine.
I mean, this is Cyberpunk. What if you're in like a hover car? Theoretically, that wouldn't really be affected by the rain too much, but
I mean, it's still the amount of reflectivity off the roads and stuff. I'm like, I still have to keep this thing in the middle of the lanes, unless it like self-drives. But
rain's still gonna hit the car.
I mean, self-driving, like the goddamn Teslas think that the moon is a stop sign, so I don't think autopilot's gonna work that well on a hover car.
The video that I was showing in the outro, that was just a video that somebody posted just to, when that update came out, just to illustrate the differences. But later on in that video, there's a great bit where the person is like showing all the stuff in the road, and there's just a patch that's like, maybe 3 feet across in the middle of the road that they like walk over to in the middle of the road that's dry.
And rain's pissing down everywhere else, but it's one patch.
Rain. There's this dry patch in the middle of the road, and they sort of go and step into it, and then like look up to see if there's anything above them to, possibly be causing this weird rain shadow or whatever. It's like, nope. It's like, so we've got rain and stuff, but the glitchiness does still.
Well, what was technically above them was about like 200 feet straight up. There was a tree that was roughly the same shape that was like leaning over the thing, and it's like that's not how trees block rain from that height. You basically just drew a line from the top of the skybox to the ground, and you said if anything's occluding, then and it's like, yeah, it's not perfect. I think Graham told me that he was in a car one time riding with somebody in Cyberpunk, and as they were driving along, he was like, they were like talking to each other, so they're looking over at each other a whole bunch, and then all of a sudden the dude was just completely soaking wet because it was raining outside. And like about a few seconds later, the water just disappeared off of his body. He was completely bone dry again. And it's like, that's a great glitch. Good glitch. Like that glitch. Lucha Libro asks in chat, was Zebra Turkeyfish inspired by Bulbous Bouffant by the Vestibules? Absolutely it was.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Old references here.
1994.
Real old, I guess I should say, because I know the Potter Puppet Pals thing that people were thinking potentially it was is like 14 years old.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about some more some stories that we didn't get to talk about in the actual episode.
Yeah.
Starting with more stuff about FIFA 22. I feel like there's been every couple of weeks there's been sort of stories that there's stories that I'm like, oh, this seems really neat. I don't know enough about the game to know like how new and exciting this is,
right.
But it seems cool to me. So if this is something that is not actually that new and exciting to you, because you actually have been playing these games, I apologize. But this seems cool. Basically, they're using a whole new machine learning algorithm for doing the animations. They actually fully motion captured an entire game, a full football game, full
by professional football players.
Football game of professional football players with everybody on both sides of the game covered in the like motion capture things. They motion captured the entire game to get as many different movements and stuff. And then in the same like previously, they always had this problem where they had the trade-off between the length of an animation and how adaptable it is, right? So like the longer an animation is, the better it looks because you have the full whatever of you have the full capture of the person doing the move. But the less flexible it is. So like if you've got the animation of somebody kicking, but then you check them in the middle of it, you have to change what the animation is going to do, obviously.
Right.
And so if your animation is too long, then that change becomes really awkward. But if your animation segments are too short, then the flow of the move isn't as good. And basically, by using this massive amount of motion capture data that they have now, not only this game but also from all the previous games, they've actually been like running it through a machine learning algorithm so that the animations in the game will actually they won't necessarily be like the animation of this guy doing the thing that was recorded. It will be actually like on the fly animating, based on whatever circumstances are going on in the game. The system knows what a kicking animation should look like.
Yeah,
but can adapt it to the circumstances that it's in.
You can think about it in traditional animation as being computer-generated interpolation. That's like we need to smear from one keyframe to another keyframe, or from one illustrated frame to another, and so we have the computer do that smear for us. And if you're watching something and it's happening so fast, you're like, oh well, I don't notice the smear, I just notice the animation's happening and it looks the way that it looks. And this is this kind of thing where the machine is saying, I can get this guy's leg from this position to this position because it makes sense that it would do that.
Right. So, but the sort of the like tweening in animation is an old thing.
Yeah.
You know, that's something you can do all the time. You know, you have the leg here, and then the computer does the parts in between. The difference here is that the system that's doing all the parts in between knows what a kick looks like, actually knows what a kick specifically looks like. Not just, so it's not just a generic movement.
Like a morph, yeah.
They actually know how a foot playing football should move between those 2 points, which is quite cool.
Yeah. Because it means that you can do things like the foot will bend at the right time, and as opposed to like maybe not bending at the right time, or the knee bends in the way that you expect it to, or that the leg goes back far enough. And it's like, oh, well, you know, like I know that a kick can actually start all the way back here. And it's like, yeah, it sure can.
What's actually really funny in this article, they're talking about the person writing this article is saying that it's like, yes, this happened, you know, every year or every release of sports games, you get this thing where it's like, we've captured 1,000 more things of animation. They're going to be the most realistic things, you know, ever. And someone's saying that when they were doing NBA, so not FIFA, but they were doing NBA Live, took over from the NBA Elite series. And they're saying when they took over, when they got all the assets from NBA Elite 11, the NBA Live team realized that there was a ton of animations that were in the game, but because of the vagaries of how the algorithm works to decide what animations to use in different circumstances, those animations were literally never shown to the player. Like there was no like they have all sorts of animations, but it's like the circumstances in which this animation would be played never actually came up in the game. So there was like a ton of stuff in the game to make the animations that would have made the animations like look better that the computer never, the game never actually decided to show the players. And so saying like, so when in the article is saying, so yeah, there's a little bit of skepticism when people are like, there's 100,000 animations in this game. It's like, okay, but how many are actually like shown?
Yeah, how often am I going to see these? Because you like the rare occasion, like the niche animation, like I like this Working Digicats Cats as a poor niche purpose animation is not getting a chance. It's like, yeah, there are probably some niche animations where it's like you want to, the one that you're going to see 1 in 100 times, right? Your guy like hoisting the trophy at the end of the game. At the big game, he wins the big game and he wins the big trophy and he holds the trophy up, and they might insert a different animation where it's like, oh, he's drinking champagne out of the trophy, or he just hit his teammate with the trophy, like those kind of things.
The very rare slips and falls.
Yeah.
Embarrassment.
Yeah, the SSR of animations where it's like you're almost never going to pull that one, but when you do, you're like, holy shit, I can't believe they put that in the game, that kind of exciting moment. These are just ones that are like, we just programmed a bunch of stuff because we need to keep the animators busy. Is that really what happened here?
And then the other aspect of this, on sort of a macro level, I guess you could call it, because they have this motion capture data of an actual team playing, not just individual people, is that apparently this new hyper motion system is going to be way better in terms of having the players on like a team interact with each other in a realistic way. So, you know, be in formations or adapt to how the rest of the people on their team are moving. Whereas in previous versions in previous FIFA games, you know, they had individual animations and stuff, but the overall team wouldn't necessarily be as fluid in its stuff. So I don't know. This kind of stuff I find super cool. I don't know if you're a FIFA player. I don't know if this is actually like the part of the game that you're interested in. Like you probably care more about the actual how the gameplay is. But anyway, I think it's super neat. So, you know, if you've got an NVIDIA card, or also I'm sure if you've got a Radeon AMD card, you get all there's like the game ready drivers for a card. This is a news story, by the way. Yeah. So like, especially my computer's got a GeForce in it, and there's all there's almost constant, every month or so there'll be updates for the new game ready drivers. And they're not only new drivers for the actual card, but there's the game ready aspect is theoretically NVIDIA has actually been testing the card with this specific game and knows and has been doing specific tweaks for this game to make it run to know how to make the game run the best on the card is the idea. Okay. Anyway. That's what this sort of game ready drivers. Obviously for that to work, NVIDIA has to have a big database of all the games, and they also have to, you want the game ready drivers to be out right when the game comes out. The game ready driver coming out 2 months after the game is already in people's hands isn't so good.
Which means they would need to have access to the games before the games come out.
Which means that, yes, exactly. They've got to have access to the games before they come out. So they got a big database of games that haven't been released. Guess what happens?
Oh.
Oops. That database got
Somebody
grabbed.
Talks about it on Reddit.
Yeah. The database got leaked. So basically a whole bunch of NVIDIA so NVIDIA has confirmed that it is indeed their database that was leaked.
Yes.
Although they are saying that all the games, like the games in the database, are not necessarily like confirmed. Like there's stuff.
Yeah.
There may be stuff in the database that is not actual games that are coming out.
They're calling it speculative and placeholder.
But there's, for instance, there's stuff like Bayonetta 3 is in the database. A list of remasters of all the GTA games.
Yep.
Shin Megami Tensei 5.
So here's the real thing.
Shin Megami Tensei 5 and Bayonetta 3, which have been announced as Switch exclusives.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, there's that, but there's also like, sure, this database exists. I wouldn't start suspecting that like these games are all going to come out in the next 3 months or even a year, right, when one of the ones they list is Kingdom Hearts 4.
I mean, yeah,
exactly.
But on the plus side, you can be excited by the fact that Take-Two is going to, like, Rockstar, yes, is doing more than just making GTA 5 over and over again. They're now making GTA 3, Vice City, and San Andreas over again. So
I will point out that there will be much sadness when everyone sees Chrono Cross remastered and not Chrono Trigger.
Oh, they'll never remaster Chrono Trigger.
But yeah, so Street Fighter 6, Resident Evil 4 Remake, Monster Hunter 6,
Titanfall 3,
Mirror's Edge RTX Remaster, which could be super fancy. That would look.
Human Fall Flat 2.
Which
the Talos Principle 2. Like, these are all, if they're not a remake, they're a sequel.
Human Fall Flat 2 and Mirror's Edge could in a lot of ways be seen as a very similar game.
Yeah. I'm surprised they didn't have Half-Life 3 on here. Like, I mean, if you're writing a speculative database, you just put Half-Life 3.
It's like if in case it ever gets leaked.
Yeah, it's like we have to have it in there. Yeah, we're holding a space for Half-Life 3 if it ever gets released.
My favorite title on here is Project FPS.
Oh, from Paradox?
It sounds like we're making a first person shooter.
They do have Half-Life 2 remastered on there.
Yeah. Yeah, which is like, that's also a hopeful thing. Yeah, but Project FPS definitely feels like we're a company that's never made an FPS before, and now this is our FPS project. This is where we finally tried to make one.
Also, but I like that as a title. I think it's funny.
Also, there's an exciting entry for Untitled Respawn Game. Possibly a sequel to Untitled Goose Game.
Oh, that would be hilarious. Be there for that.
So, anyway, this is just, it's kind of funny that, you have, but what you do is you make it like, the like street map databases that has like a couple fake streets in it to know if people
streets.
Yeah. You do that, put Half-Life 3 in, you put like a few little games that people are be like, whoa. So like where the leak came from.
Yeah, it's that thing where I know there are people who are like waiting. They want to know what game is being worked on and what company and all the things. But if you know when a game is being made from the beginning, like from the very beginning where somebody announces it, there's so much time in there where it could get scrapped or it's still in an idea phase where it'll go away. And then there's so much time after that you have to wait for it to come out when they could just eventually tell you, hey, it's going to come out next year. And that's my happy space. That's my, okay, I'll be excited about this game in 3 months space. Not now someone has leaked a game that will not come out for 5 years and potentially not at all because it's not announced and they might just scrap it.
There's the like, I didn't even know this was a thing. Now I know it's a thing and you're keeping it from me. How dare you?
This is why you don't open your Christmas presents 6 years early.
All right. Well, let's look at
this next story, which I was almost ready to write a story about. It sounds fantastic.
So Super Mario 64 speedrunning is a very hotly contested thing. Other than, I mean, like, I think Super Mario Brothers, original Super Mario Brothers, is the quintessential speedrunning game in the sense of being extremely tightly locked in. Like the task run of Super Mario Brothers is not that far off the actual person run of Super Mario Brothers. Super Mario 64 is almost in that realm where the game has been run backwards and forwards. It's been decompiled. People know exactly how everything operates in the game. They know, it's been made for others. They've been hacked versions and made for other systems. There's all sorts of, all the things where you can skip levels and do all sorts of totally silly hacks or skips and different things like that. So there's all the glitches are known, except for one.
Yes.
So there was this speedrunner back in 2013 called Dota Teabag, who was speedrunning Mario 64 in the TikTok clock stage, and coincidentally was recording his stream, and he does a skip. He goes through a thing, goes to do a jump, and then suddenly teleports up like 2 levels in the TikTok clock, which
directly above where he was.
Yeah, which if you haven't seen it, it's a level. It's a level where there's all sorts of moving platforms and stuff, and it's composed of sort of multiple floors that you have to go up. And so he just teleports up, and nobody knows how he did it. And in fact, speedrunners put out $1,000 bounty to if anybody could replicate this, because the guy couldn't replicate it either, because this is like a skip that nobody knew how it could be done and how it could be done again.
And largely, there's going to be this thing of like, well, you must have done something to cheat. And it's like, or if you listen to what's going on in the video, it's like he doesn't even know what happened. It's a pretty genuine reaction, but it's like, did you use a cheat? Did you do something else? Why would you use a cheat in that one location for that one reason, right? Like, what would be even the point?
And so after doing a bunch of research on it and testing and different things, they have decided, the speedrunning community, I guess, that the best conclusion is cosmic rays.
Yep.
That something hit this person's console, flipped a bit in it, and made Mario jump thing. And they actually were able to test this by using an emulator that was set up to change that one bit at a certain point. And they were able to test it, and the exact same thing happened. And so a fairly conclusive evidence that this glitch is only possible through cosmic rays hitting which, I mean, there are some pretty hard skips to set up in video games, but I feel like this one might be the top.
If you figure it out, though, if you figure out how to manipulate cosmic rays to do some cheat skipping around in your speed run of a game, I would suggest doing the funny thing and making it a Fantastic Four game.
Absolutely.
I like the idea that somebody figures out how to, manipulate cosmic rays, and this is what they use it. Like, that's what they use.
Yep.
It's like, excellent. My speed running will be the best now.
Yes. You could just...
I don't know what practical applications there are of being able to manipulate cosmic rays, but I'm sure there's very interesting things that high energy physics people could do with that.
It's really neat to think that it's like, we've been researching this all this time. Somebody proposed this theory. We're like, we can't rule it out yet. It could be this, but let's look at everything else. And so, like good scientists, the speedrunners have tried all sorts of different things, and finally we're like, okay, we made a script. It does the bit flip. That would be the thing. How else would you get a bit flip? This is pretty much the only way we can think of getting an actual bit flip that would just happen at a random time. It's like, okay, well, shit, that's what happened, dude.
I was thinking Dream, the guy who came under fire for his Minecraft speedrun that turned out to be, so improbable that there's no way it would ever happen. That's an angle he didn't try. That's like, hey, maybe some cosmic rays hit my computer in the course of the speedrun, and that's why the results were weird.
Yeah, well, they all worked out in my favor.
I believe, if you look at the numbers, that is actually a more likely occurrence than what actually happened, than what he was alleging happened.
Could have happened by random chance,
If we're not careful, we're gonna start selling dream catchers that catch your cosmic waves just for your N64 speed runs.
Okay, so this is an interesting idea, though, and I just want to. I know we have a few more things, but it does bring up an interesting point. And none of us are speedrunners, so I don't know how this affects the community overall. But Railroad Tycoon 2 says, "Oh, there'll be a cosmic percent category, right? They'll be just like, well, that's what we'll do for these weird out of bounds things." But I'm like, it does raise the question: if you do something so incredibly well, like if you beat somebody's previous speed run by like 20 seconds or whatever, and you can demonstrate it by this, here's the video I did where this thing happened, and everyone watches it, it's like, then that means that speed runs are given to peer review. That people have to say, I watched the thing, I saw it happen, like the video was happening at whatever time, we saw the thing happen, okay, I'm gonna go try to reproduce the exact things that you did in your speed run. So now, or you'll have to please record all of your inputs so that we can take that and run it through a task, so we can see what happens if we run it again. Does everything happen the same way? It's like everyone's going to want their results to be reproducible in a laboratory to be able to say, yes, this stands as the new record.
Well, I mean, it's interesting actually, though. Like, it's not peer review in that way, in the sense of people replicating it, but that is actually a big thing in the speedrun community. Is that if you are a speedrunner, especially if you are just come in from nobody knows who you are.
Yeah.
Your runs will be looked at with great skepticism, because the thing with these games, especially these games that are very heavily run, like Mario and different things, is the top runners of these games. They know, not only do they know each other, but they also know the game so well that they know what is and is not possible in the game, right?
Right.
And so, like, they know what a tool assisted run looks like, and they're like, oh, he moved, he turned too fast there. That's not actually possible. Or that move is only possible by pushing left and right at the same time, which is not possible to do on a Nintendo controller. Boom.
Yeah.
It like that's the level, that's the level it used, like, back in the day, right? That's the problem with speedrun records, especially for old games, is that, like, the qualifications for getting onto, like, some of the speedrun ladders for old games were, like, hilariously, like, it was like, take a photo of your high score screen at the end, because, like, obviously people couldn't record their TVs at the time, or not easily. And so there's and obviously, but as streaming and stuff has become bigger thing, there's been more and more stuff. There's some great YouTube channels that talk about different frauds or things that were figured out in the speedrun community that I find quite fascinating often.
The dragster thing, where it's like you can't actually score a drag race that low on the Atari, like that kind of thing. But it's
nobody knows how he did it, but maybe it was cosmic rays.
Cosmic rays, right? There's a weird thing, like, but it just seems odd to me that it's like, because people are even saying in the chat, it's like, well, the community is built on trust and reputation, and I'm like, right. But if you think about the academic community at large, that's also true of the scientific academic community. If you're somebody who's never published anything before and you show an amazing result and people are like, that's so cool, everyone's going to be like, we need to review all the stuff that you've done. But if you've published, like, hundreds of stuff, if your name is all over the community and whatever, and you put a thing up and like, hey, so we did this latest thing and here's my results, people are going to look at that and be like, oh, that's Dr. So-and-so. I've seen him post this shit before. This is an amazing result. And they're not going to want to review that stuff. Because also, if you're seen as the guy who's like, I'm a little skeptical that Dr. So-and-so is getting this amazing result, you're like, shut up. He's going to control how we get funding.
I mean, you're still going to, it's not like you don't get, you're going to have higher standing because people know that you've done stuff before. That's just how reputation works.
Yeah.
But there is also, I mean, especially in the scientific community, there is all, like, sure, people might take you more seriously, but no matter how impressive and well-regarded a physicist you are, if you come up with a paper about cold fusion, people are going to verify that. Like, that is going to be something that people are going to check. They're not just going to be like, well, I mean, this guy knows what he's talking about. All right, I guess. Yay for that. Anyway. Actually, also in, I guess, not possibly speedrunning news. I don't know if this is even a speedrun. It's more just like a cool exploit. But it's in another Nintendo game. Another exploit glitch found in Breath of the Wild, which I just find amusing, which is using the spicy pepper trick.
Yeah.
Which, if you go to a show that says they're going to do the spicy pepper trick, maybe you should be skeptical of that show. But unless it's a Zelda Breath of the Wild speedrunning show, in which case you should check it out because it's really cool. Basically, what it is you have your glider thing that you can go on updrafts over fires, and it turns out that only spicy peppers if you shoot them with the flaming arrow, they light on fire. And that creates an updraft.
Yeah.
And it appears to be only the spicy peppers that do this for whatever reason. I guess because they're spicy.
Because they're spicy.
And Nintendo doesn't understand the difference between spice and heat. Anyway.
I have to assume it has something to do with it's like, we put this in as an Easter egg.
Basically, they figured out that if you drop a ton of spicy peppers on the ground underneath you, there's an ability that gives you a initial updraft boost. So that gives you an additional updraft boost, but it also brings all the spicy peppers up with you. And then while you're in midair, you light the spicy peppers on fire, which causes another updraft, which gets you even higher and also blows the rest of the spicy pepper. You can just keep pushing yourself up by using more lighting spicy peppers on fire. And create sort of updrafts on top of updrafts, which is also not how updrafts work, I'm pretty sure.
No.
But anyway, and that allows you to get you can get up to like towers and things that you're not supposed to be able to get up to.
Or just get up to a tower way easier than you would normally.
It is, yeah. It is basically the like pulling yourself up by your bootstraps.
Yeah.
Or whatever, but it is highly amusing. Oh, I didn't realize there was so much Mario 64 news. But
is this the person who put together the news?
Yeah. What can I say? Speaking of Mario 64, a modder has put Mario 64 into Minecraft. To be clear, this is not a Mario 64 mod for Minecraft in the sense that you can like play Mario, like you can go through a Mario 64 level as Steve or do stuff. This is the Mario
player model,
the player model of Mario and his capabilities and physics. Loaded into a Minecraft world.
Yes, not just a skin.
And he can like walk around and do stuff. This is a mod. This isn't like using command blocks and stuff.
No. Yeah, this is basically just like you can watch him run around. He can punch sheep. It's all done with the like kind of third-person camera at like the right angle and everything too. It looks pretty good. He can do all the long jumps and the triple jumps and stuff. It looks like he belongs there. It's kind of wild.
It looks more like a Minecraft level has been loaded into Mario 64.
Yeah.
In the like basically Mario can run around the Minecraft world like he would be running around in Mario 64, which is entirely differently from what an actual Minecraft character should move as. You can punch sheep. You can you can't. I don't know if you can actually like mine.
I probably not.
I mean, maybe by punching.
I mean, that's what I would add to it.
That's like that seems like the way to do it.
Just go punch a tree. For
I'm glad we clarified this because anytime someone's like, anytime a thing like Minecraft comes up where it's like, oh, you can build whatever you want in this thing. Mario 64 and Ocarina of Time seem to be the first things that always get put in.
Well, because because Minecraft and Mojang and Nintendo have actually worked, like there was an official Mario Minecraft thing, or I guess Microsoft and Nintendo. There was an official Mario Minecraft thing, but that wasn't this. That was like it's like a Mario skin for your guy, and there's like a pixelated version of a Mario level. This is actually the Mario 64 game kind of pushed into Minecraft in a really weird way that I find highly amusing. Nickelodeon All-Stars Brawl continues to keep. I mean, they're doing the smart thing, the like the Smash Brothers thing, right? Where they're like slowly doling out the characters in it. And because it's Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl, it's like, nostalgia, that character. Nostalgia, this other character. That's a TV show that I remember.
Yep.
Says, mid-30s video game reviewer. So they've got.
So who are they putting in today?
Ren and also Stimpy.
That's a show I remember.
They're like an ice climber style, like 2-person character player.
Yes.
Apparently, Ren like rides on Stimpy or something. Which this article points out is not even the only dog and cat combination, because cat dog is also in
cat
it.
Dog. But cat dog is connected in a tube.
Right.
Right.
So I don't know that you can count that as a duo so much as just like a two-headed.
Technically, the ice climbers are also connected by a really thin tube. The rope.
They can walk away separately from each other.
Can they really?
Yeah.
I've never really noticed that. I guess I haven't played enough ice climber stuff. Can you knock one? You can knock one. It doesn't matter. We're not talking about ice climbers.
Them as people, they can separate. Cat and dog cannot poop.
Oh,
as far as I understand.
You're saying if the ice climbers were living full and exciting lives outside of a video game, they would be able to walk away from each other. They have their own houses.
They have their own experiences, and they talk to each other regularly. Yeah. That's a day job thing.
Yeah, that's fair. Ice climbing is their day job.
Yes.
When if you invite one of the ice climbers to a party, you don't have to invite both.
Yeah,
no, exactly. But you will out of courtesy.
Yeah, I can't tell if are they siblings? Are they lovers? Go check out AO3 for some content.
Stop sending people to a website you don't even read.
When you're climbing those mountains, it gets kind of lonely sometimes.
Yeah.
Who knows?
I never liked Ren and Stimpy. I tried so hard to like it because it was the hot thing when I was in high school, and I was just like, it was never my cup of tea. And I had friends who were totally into it, and I'm like,
it has some super funny bits, but it's one of those shows where if you actually watch the show, it's like, ooh, I don't know, I don't like this. This is it's sort of really aggressively weird. It's a lot of it seems like it's trying way too hard.
It was the messiness of a lot of the illustrations where it was like, I'm going to on purpose make things look disgusting and ugly, and I'm just kind of like, I'm not into that.
It's not my thing. I understood why people liked it, but I liked the Toast Man wasn't that terrible to
Toast
me.
Man? I liked Log.
I thought he was
fun.
okay.
Powdered Toast Man is also in Nickelodeon All-Stars Brawl, by the way.
Yes.
I found this particular character introduction funny because depending on what era of Ren and Stimpy you're talking about, Ren and it operates at a very different level of child friendliness than say Danny Phantom or SpongeBob SquarePants.
Danny Phantom. Yes, let's bring that back instead.
Some of the other shows that are in this thing. So depending on what era of Ren and Stimpy went through several sort of iterations on different channels that had different requirements, I guess, in terms of censoring. Depending on what era they're going to be using, it'll be interesting to see what presumably it'll be kind of toned down.
Can they bring in My Life as a Teenage Robot? Can they bring in Jenny? Is that Nickelodeon? I don't know actually what's specifically Nickelodeon, because most of the stuff I watched was on YTV, or Disney was easy because there was kind of a Disney subsection.
Our window into the world of the Nickelodeon cartoons is a little bit skewed because
Jenny is Nickelodeon. Well, then they should bring in Jenny.
All right.
Anyway, I think that's all the news, unless there's been something else in the last day that we want to talk about.
Yeah, probably not. I mean, I do know for people who care, Deltarune Chapter 2 is coming out tomorrow, today, something. So
People
that's exciting.
sure did write messages saying, "Why didn't you cover this?" And it's like, everyone is realizing that we are the hottest video game news show on the planet.
Don't misrepresent that. I want to be excited for other people.
Yeah, no, I'm happy that people are getting a game. I was sad that people could not have a game. A game I don't give a two shits about, but I'm sad that Little Big Planet.
Oh, yes, I am sad about that.
But I'm like, that sucks. I'm not sad in a way that it's like keeping me up at night or anything, but I'm like, oh, that sucks that's happening to these people.
I never played those games, but like you saw Sackboy everywhere.
Yeah.
And it was very cute. The big zipper in his little knitted outfit.
Yeah.
I kind of want to, now I kind of want, like, I hope that they are working on like a new Little Big Planet. I kind of want to see like PlayStation 5 like RTX rendered.
Oh Jesus!
It'd
be very realistic.
Ray tracing, like, oh man, I can really see the burlap that he's made out of.
Cool. Could we get some very specific knitting controllers? We have to knit your own Sackboy in game.
Yeah. There's this story that Heather linked to about the Razer finger sleeves.
Oh right, that's why I brought up the other thing. I forgot about that.
Could have been our coming up.
Oh, they're basically just thimbles.
Yeah, they're finger condoms.
Oh my god.
You can go to the place where they sell the drugs. You can get them for your fingers to protect them against.
It's for your index finger and for your thumb for mobile gaming. So if you're paying attention to the Razer lineup, you can have some headphones with cat ears on it, which admittedly I think actually look cool. A weird futuristic mask that lights up, and
did that actually get made? Did Project Hazel actually happen?
I have no idea.
I feel like that might have not actually been like released. It was a cool looking thing, but also dumb.
I just feel like I remember being a kid, and whenever they were like, in the future where everything is going to be hardcore, everyone's going to have the fingerless gloves. And I'm like, now all you get is two fingers and only
gloveless fingers.
The thing, of course, the difference between these and these they've got the like stuff in them to make them work with touch sensitive screens. Right?
Yeah, this woven with silver thread, they say.
Yeah, well,
it has to be
how
silver.
You do that.
It could be metallic, like it's fine.
Yeah, but yeah, I guess it's because your fingers your sweaty fingers aren't on your device.
I mean, you're probably not going to leave fingerprints then, because I would assume oily residue.
Yeah,
which can change the overall feel of your screen, because if you're actually leaving a lubricant on the screen while you're wiping with it, then your finger will go faster, right? And you're trying to be precise. You want everything to be the exact same level of motion all the time.
There's a great blog post I read. This was a long time ago, but it was different apps on the iPad. It's like, can you identify these popular iPad apps by a picture of just the like hand grease marks on the iPad from somebody using this app for like an hour. And so it's just like, it's like the app and then like a picture of an iPad with like the screen off and just like the like hand marks on the screen.
That's super funny.
So it's like, things that have like swipes on them and stuff.
What's funny is that the idea, somebody brought a great comment that I want to surface, is somebody had said, oh, so you're telling me if you combine these finger cots from finger sleeves, finger shields, whatever you want to call them, from Razer, with actual fingerless gloves, what you'll end up getting is that kind of like finger zeta yoiki, the absolute area that is between the socks and the skirt of what you're wearing. It's like that.
It's the sexy part.
Yeah, the sexy part of the finger, that little bit right there,
just below the knuckle. Yeah,
just before the crotch of your fingers, which is like its own little thing. It's like get on AO3 and start searching for that. I've been having a good week this week with AO3 apparently.
Hashtag not sponsored.
So mad at you if you ruin anything on AO3.
I don't know how I can possibly ruin anything on AO3.
Oh,
They have over 100,000 Castiel and Dean Winchester shipping fictions at this point. Nothing can be ruined on there.
Beach. Ian and I have created an entire holiday. You have way more power than you think.
That's fair. That's fair.
So don't mess with the places I like hanging out.
All right. Well, on that note, let's stop this. And let's talk about what's coming up next, because what's coming next is a Friday Night Paper Fight.
Nice.
We're going to be playing some historic brawl. In fact, I believe it's going to be Graham and Wheeler and Nelson and Olivia are going to be playing historic brawl on Arena. And then on Saturday, Wheeler's going to be continuing on with Sekiro Shadows Die Twice. And that is also happening on Sunday. Followed by more Wonder Song on Rhythm Cafe, which I could have sworn you've done the final episode of Wonder Song a couple times now.
About 7.
Yeah, but
you're getting Hideo Kojima'd out this game. How many credit scenes have you seen so far?
Well, we make our own credits, so like 1 million. Ian and I are actually going to start at 3 instead of 4 on that day in an attempt to make it done, because we think we have like 2.5 hours worth of content, and we don't want to and Wheeler is right after our stream, so we don't want to bump into him.
Looks like Wheeler is before and after.
Yeah. And,
looks like
Graham,
looks like James hasn't updated the schedule.
Well, he hasn't responded to the message I made about it yet, but I assume that it will be okay, because I checked the schedule, and Play It Forward doesn't like bump up to 4 p.m. It finishes around like 1 or 2 or something.
Finishes 1, yeah.
Yeah, so that should be fine.
But yes, then after Play It Forward, or after Rhythm Cafe, is Pokemon on Is This Your Card? And then on Monday, Can't Draw Horses Club, where Corey and possibly other people are going to be drawing things that may or may not be horses. And then on Dice Friends, it is going to be the finale of Night of the Living Dead, I think.
We're going to be done doing it.
We're going to be done doing it. It's going to be the finale for the guy in Night of the Living Dead anyway. Yeah.
We'll give you a...
He's either going to be dead or not dead.
Yeah, if you want spoilers, we already finished the adventure in the last episode. They
achieved a form of an ending.
Yeah, quite a form of the ending.
Yeah, but maybe you could consider it to be like the not good ending, although it didn't seem like that bad. No. We did like save the town, and we got to be in charge of like the Legions of Hell, which seemed like kind of cool, but that wasn't the thing that we were supposed to be doing. So
it's just neat to actually have an ending that was like, oh, this is an ending that isn't just like, oh, and you step on a snake and you die. Like,
say what you will about Orcus, kind of cool guy.
Yeah.
Also, the evil incarnate. And then on Tuesday, back to Minecraft, where James, Uno, and Serge are going to be continuing on their 100% mostly 99% run.
Really, they should call it that, shouldn't they?
And Cameron and Corey are going to be playing, I believe they're going to be playing the Deathloop. I think it's called Deathloop.
Yeah, I think that's right. I believe that's true.
That sounds right.
So there's Loop Hero, which I know they've already done, so they're not doing that one.
Right.
12 minutes, which apparently is awful.
Yes,
and so Deathloop must be the one they're doing.
Sweet.
And then on Let's Know, they're going to be playing something spoopy. I know they finished Little
Nightmares 2.
Little Nightmares 2. So I don't know what they're up to next. But
Little Nightmares 3, which doesn't exist.
The one that doesn't. That's what makes it super scary.
You're right.
Extra scary.
Extra scary is the game that doesn't exist.
They walk in and they're like, who installed this? This game doesn't even exist if you start playing it.
Oh, if I had certain abilities to do things, there are so many pranks I would probably pull off. And that might be one of them.
All right. Well, let's thank people who subscribed during this stream. Starting with Jacob 97.
Zebra Turkey Fish has been gifted a sub by Pharaoh Bender 27.
As did the Mola Mola Band also got that gift.
Dorado.
Nadriachi, they're their 84 months, which is a birthday of 6? Is that 6?
Yes. No.
6 years? 7
7.
years? 7 years?
Yeah. Erastus with 95 months. I think I saw that go by at 95.
And Nova Tiemp 2 for 31, but not Nova Tiemp 1. What happened to Nova Tiemp 1?
Must have subbed in a different show?
Maybe. Usually they're like right out, like one right after the other.
Yeah, right?
Maybe we don't talk about Nova Tempo 1 anymore, apparently.
Oh no.
Sorry, Nova Tempo. I agree. Twitch probably did eat your sub.
Anyway, thanks everybody for watching. And be back in just about an hour with Friday Night Paper Fight. But in the meantime, we'll talk to you later.